You know, we think we know a country's story, but so often there's a hidden blueprint, right? An ideological architect whose plans are still being built, sometimes a whole century later. So today we're going to pull back the curtain and uncover that blueprint, the very design of modern Jamaica.
All right, let's start with the big one, politics. In 2025, Jamaica is on track to remove the British monarch as its head of state. It's becoming a full republic. I mean, this is a huge deal. It's the final step in its long journey to complete self-governance.
Then you've got the economy. And get this, a massive chunk of Jamaica's GDP isn't even made on the island. It flows in from Jamaicans living all over the world. This global diaspora, it's like this incredible financial lifeline that powers the country.
And of course, there's the culture, the sound of reggae, the ideas of Rastafari. This isn't just music or a belief system anymore. It's a global brand, beaming Jamaican identity out to literally every corner of the planet.
So you've got this new republic, an economy powered from abroad, and this global cultural force. They seem totally separate, right? Just modern trends. But what if I told you they all spring from the mind of one man, from a plan he laid out nearly 100 years ago? What's the single thread that ties all of this together?
To connect those dots, we've got to go back, way back. We need to see how this architect's vision was forged, in the fires of colonialism and the struggle for a better life.
You see, Marcus Garvey's early life was basically a crash course in how empires work. He was born in Jamaica, a descendant of Maroons. These are Africans who had escaped slavery to build their own free communities. Then, a printer strike he leads fails, and he learns a tough lesson about labor and power. He travels all over Central America, and everywhere he goes, he sees the exact same pattern of exploitation. So by the time he gets to London, the very heart of the empire, he's got this global diagnosis. The system itself is the problem, and you need a global solution to fix it.
So armed with this huge, global idea, Garvey doesn't head straight back to Jamaica. Nope, he goes to Harlem, New York. And right in the middle of all this post-war racial tension, he starts his grand experiment. He's going to build a nation before he even has the land for it.
I mean, think about it. If you're building a nation, you have to talk to your people, right? Well, Garvey's newspaper, The Negro World, reached up to 500,000 readers at its peak. That's insane for the time. It was so powerful, spreading his message of race first and self-reliance, that colonial governments literally banded it all over the Caribbean. It was his propaganda machine, his media empire, and wow, was it effective.
And the UNIA, his Universal Negro Improvement Association, this wasn't just some community group. No way. Garvey structured it like an actual government. It had a potentate, a provisional president of Africa, that was him of course, and a full cabinet. It was basically a government in exile, giving millions of people who were denied basic rights the psychological citizenship and belonging they craved.
And the crown jewel of this whole operation, that was supposed to be the Black Star Line. The vision was absolutely revolutionary. A fleet of ships, all owned and operated by black people, creating their own independent trade network. But the reality, it was brutal. The FBI, which was just getting started under a young J. Edgar Hoover, saw Garvey as a major threat and was actively trying to sink the company. You add in some internal corruption and just plain old inexperience, and well, the whole dream just collapsed.
And look, this threat Garvey posed, it wasn't just in their heads. It was on paper. In a 1919 memo, you have J. Edgar Hoover himself writing that his goal was, and I'm quoting here, deporting Garvey as a notorious Negro agitator. So the Black Star Line's money problems, that wasn't just a bad business deal. It was the excuse the government was waiting for. They couldn't get him on his politics, so they nailed him for mail fraud. He was sent to prison and, in 1927, deported.
Okay, so the big Harlem experiment, it's over. But you gotta understand, for a guy like Garvey, this wasn't the end. It was a pivot. Deported back to Jamaica, he takes that massive global vision and starts to refine it, to shrink it down into a local blueprint. Jamaica, that was gonna be his new laboratory.
So, back home, Garvey starts the island's first modern political party. And in 1929, he drops this manifesto. And when you read what he was proposing back then, it's just mind-blowing how ahead of his time he was. He calls for self-government? Well, that's literally what's happening in 2025. An 8-hour workday and a minimum wage? That's just standard labor law now. Legal aid for the poor, technical schools, it was all there. This wasn't just a list of campaign promises, it was the architectural drawing for the entire modern Jamaican state.
Now, of course, Garvey himself never got to build any of this. The colonial system made sure of that, and his party eventually faded away. But here's the thing about a powerful idea, a powerful blueprint. It doesn't just die. It finds new ways to live. And Garvey's vision had 3 incredible afterlives.
The first way his ideas survived was, believe it or not, spiritual. Garvey, who's this incredible speaker, supposedly gives this prophecy that would end up sparking a whole new faith. He said, "Look to Africa for the crowning of a black king. He shall be the Redeemer."
So then, fast forward to 1930. A man named Ras Tafari Makonnen is crowned Emperor Haile Selassie I of Ethiopia. And for many people back in Jamaica, boom, the prophecy was fulfilled. And just like that, a new faith is born, Rastafari. And in their faith, Haile Selassie is the Messiah. And Marcus Garvey, he's the prophet who foretold his coming. It's incredible. Garvey's political ideas literally became a religion.
Okay, so that's the spiritual afterlife. The second one was pure politics. The 1938 labor riots in Jamaica were basically the earthquake that just shattered the old colonial system and led to the creation of the country's main political parties. And guess who's right there at the center of it all? St. William Grant, a high-ranking officer trained in Garvey's UNIA. The discipline and organizing skills Garvey taught with a spark for the entire independence movement. So, the guys who take over, Jamaica's new leaders like Bustamante and Manley, they pretty much just take Garvey's 1929 manifesto and build their whole platform on it. They adopt all his social welfare policies. But, and this is a really important but, they took his policies, but they rejected his race-first philosophy. Instead, they chose a multiracial motto for the new nation, out of many one people. They used his blueprint, but they changed a core part of the design.
All right, so we've got religion, we've got politics. The third, and maybe the most powerful afterlife for his ideas, was culture. And it all comes down to a line you've probably heard 1,000 times. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Yeah, we all know that line. Sung by the one and only Bob Marley in his hauntingly beautiful last song, Redemption Song. It's a lyric that has inspired millions of people around the world. The perfect summary of the whole Rasta and reggae message.
But here is the twist, the kicker. Bob Marley didn't write those words. He was quoting, directly, word for word, from a speech Marcus Garvey gave in Nova Scotia back in 1937. I mean, just let that sink in. That's how deep the influence goes. Garvey's political philosophy, filtered through Rastafari, was put to music and then broadcast to the entire planet by Bob Marley.
Okay, so now let's bring it all back to where we started, to that mystery of modern Jamaica. Once you know this history, all the pieces just click into place. See, Garvey's legacy isn't just some statue in a park or a national holiday. It's the literal operating system of the country.
So, that mystery from the beginning, it's solved. That move to become a republic, that's the final chapter of Garvey's 1929 call for self-government. That powerful diaspora economy, that's the Black Star Line vision of global black economic connection. It's just being done with digital money transfers instead of steamships. And the global culture of reggae, that became the new Negro World newspaper, broadcasting black pride and self-reliance to the world. And now, with a Garveyan schools program, the state itself is making sure the architect's vision guides generations to come.
It is just an incredible story about how an idea can be more powerful than an empire, more enduring than any one person. And that really leaves us with one final big question to chew on. If one man's blueprint could quietly shape a nation for 100 years, whose ideas, whose blueprints are being laid down right now, shaping the world our children will inherit?